Alright, welcome back. In this part, we'll go through the passing two stocks part of the video. But before that, I'll have to rectify a thing because I noticed that after finishing the last video, we have a little bit of an error here, and that's because we're missing a parenthesis here on line 109. So if we add that in, we can actually continue. And we'll do that like this then. I think I'm actually gonna make sure that no, wait, this one is wrong as well. So we have to move this like so. Here we have an else. We can have an else if, but it doesn't really matter, because if we're checking here if this is not an array, and if that's not true, then yeah, then it's an array. So we just go else here, and in here we'll handle passing in two stocks. So we'll go for let stock data be equal to an empty array, and here we have const requested stock 1 is equal to rec.query.stock 0, and we have requested stock 2 is rec.query.stock 1. So rec.query here, if that's an array, then we obviously have an array to split. And then we can go and actually be a bit lazy and just copy this one, because we want to make this a request again. So here we want to do a request towards this endpoint, and we don't want requested stock here because we pass in two stocks, and because of that we need to pass in requested stock 1 instead to that one. And here's where it gets tricky, because how do you actually pass in two stocks? Because you cannot do this. You can't just pass in requested stock 2 there. That does not work. It turns out it's a lot easier than one might think. You can actually nest stuff with requests. So we will make one request first with this one, and then we make another request inside of this one with this one, and that's enough. So here I have actually named this so I can differ between them. So I have an outer error and an inner error. So this is my outer error, and I also have a, let's see, I have an outer response and an outer body. And here I'm actually going to do that before I forget this one. So, like so then, and we'll go for a, if we have an outer error here, we'll console error that outer error. If we don't, then we check the same we did above. We check if this is a string. So JSON will parse outer body. I actually need to make sure that I passed in. I think we need body here actually. Gotta double check that. Yes, we do. So we have error, response, and body. So anyway, back to this. And in here then, we'll have a type check of this, like we had before. And if this is a string, then it means that this is not the object we want, it's something else, and that's not good. So we can actually go and say, oh, we need to actually make sure it's a, so if that's a string. So if type of JSON to parse out outer body is a string, then we just say that rest at send, and we go for template literal here. Sorry, requested stock one, thanks, is not a real stock. Let's move this. Or so it's not in the database. So, and then we can say else Mongo client.connect process.env.db will use new URL parser, true, and use unified topology, true. And after that, we'll just say that error and client is passed on. And if we get that error, then we just console error that. And if we don't, then we can go for a collection is equal const collection is equal to client.db of stock price checker dot collection stocks and collection dot count documents again, and here we check for json.parse outer body and dot symbol dot then outer result, and this is still just to be able to make sure to differentiate between the outer and inner request that we're making. So if outer result is 0, we don't need to check likes here. This is not important. We can do that inside because the likes are still joined for these ones. So here we go for let likes is equal to rec.query.likes like actually then 1 else 0, and let client IP be equal to rec.query. Oh, I actually think it should be like here. I need to rectify that as well. Let's scroll up a bit and change that. So this one should be like as well. So because we're not checking for the IP because the IP will be there. We're checking for the like. That's the important one. So if the like exists, then we get the IP. Anyway, so here go for let new stock one be equal to stock, which is json.parse outer body dot symbol. We'll have likes and we'll have client IP in that way. And we'll also have collection.insert1 new stock 1. So, and we want to insert because if this is 0, then it doesn't exist and we need to insert it. And we actually do need to insert it before we're making any sort of comparison. And then we can do a stock data.push stock json.parse outer body dot symbol, and we can go for price json.parse outer body dot latest price, and we have likes 0. And the reason we don't do 0 here straight off is because we want to handle these together. So whatever, if the stock doesn't exist, then we need to pass it into the database to be able to handle them both later. And when we pass them in like this, we could add a like, but there's not any point really. So we just pass in 0 likes from the beginning, and then we can rectify that later if needed. So we're still here, right? So after this push here, after we've done that. So we're, let's see. We're inside the connection, but we're outside of this promise really. So we'll do that, get out of it, and then we'll do a new request here. And we can actually go ahead and copy this one again, go down here, and here we'll have a request, but we'll request stock 2 here. And because of that, I also want to change these to inner body, inner response, and inner error. And like so. And I need to make sure I get the right parentheses with me. So we'll do one of those and one of those. So. And in here, we'll first check if inner error. So again, if we get an error there, we need to handle that. So inner error. If we don't, then we can check if type of JSON.parse inner body, not there, if that's equal to a string, then we say that rest.send sorry, requested stock 2 is not a real stock and or is not in the database. So else we'll have to do a collection.count document because we need to check this stock as well and see if it's in the database or not. And so we go for stock and JSON.parse inner body there and dot symbol. And this one is also a promise, obviously, since it's a count document. So inner result, and if inner result is 0, then the stock doesn't exist. So we can say that likes be equal to rect.query dot likes, like into likes 1 L0, and let client IP be equal to rect.query dot like question mark rect.ip L0, and then we say that let new stock 2 be equal to stock JSON.parse inner body dot symbol, and we'll have likes and we'll have client IP is client IP. So and then we just go for a collection dot insert 1 new stock 2. So and then is where it gets tricky with MongoDB. So here we'll go for, now we've checked both of these stocks that we're passing. We made sure that if none of them are in the database, we add both. If one of them is in and the other is not, we add the one that's not in. But here's where we have to start comparing stuff. So we go for a collection, and at this point, when we get down here, where we are now, then we know that both stocks are in the database. We know that we have stuff to compare. So at this point, we'll go for a collection of count documents, and we'll go for an OR array, and in that we'll have an AND. As I said, it gets tricky. And here we'll have stock JSON.parse outer body dot symbol, and we'll have likes is greater than 0. So good. Just counting parentheses. And we'll have also client IP, and we'll make sure that that's in rec.ip. So, and let's see, we also then have and, let's not be, and array, and here we can actually copy this and change this one to inner, because we still want the same stuff there. Yeah. Where does this end? There. So here. So we'll continue the process there. So then IP result, and if IP result is not equal to 0 and rec.query.like, so we're essentially doing the same thing here as we did with the single stock. So here we just go for you're not allowed to like the same stock twice. Sorry. And so this is the error message. If I have already liked either of these, then I can't like them again. So I guess I think I said in the introduction that we should handle that, but we're not actually doing that. If you have liked one of the stocks but not the other, you can't like the other, or you can't like both at the same time, because you've already liked one of them. And client.close as well. And if IP result is not equal to 0, then we just go for an else if. Rec.query.like, so, and collection dot find one and update that one. So we'll find one and update, and we'll find a stock with json.parse outer body dot symbol. So here we have to essentially do double work. We have to find the outer stock and update that, and we have to find the inner stock and update that. And that we only have to do if none of the stocks that we have searched for are in the database and liked, and we have a like passed in, then we have to find both stocks and update both, essentially. So here we'll do an inc likes +1. That's not right. That should not be an array. It should be an object, I think. Yeah, likes +1. So, and after that object, we'll go for push client IP is rec.ip, and after this one we'll have another object where we return original false, because we don't want to do that, and then we have error document if error console log console error. And then we go for let stock1 likes be equal to document.value.likes, and stock data is equal to an array with an object, and actually two objects, but we'll start with one. So this one is json.parse outer body dot symbol, and we'll have price, obviously, is json.parse outer body dot latest price, and we'll have rel likes instead of likes. And rel likes will be stock 1 likes. But we have 2 objects in this array, so the other object is going to be essentially copy this, but with the inner data instead. So we'll copy this, make an object here. So, and we'll just replace that one and that one right inner, and we'll have stock 2 likes there. So, let's do that. So, all right. So find one update that's ending there. We have the else if. Right, so we want to feed there. It gets a bit messy, this. Realistically, it would have been good to just break these out into separate functions, I think, to make it a little bit more readable, but it's a bit late now. So here we'll do a collection.find one and update. And I just need to make sure that we're on the right page here. Oh yeah, we are. So this one is for the this is the auto body. So we've done one. We want to do essentially the same thing again, where we pass in the stock, which is JSON.parse inner body .symbol, and we'll have an inc where we have likes +1, and we will have push client IP rec.ip, and we'll have return original false with error and document, and if error we console error that error. So, and if not, we will do a let stock 2 likes be equal to document.value.likes, and stock data 0.rel likes is equal to stock data stock data 0.rel likes. This is a bit complicated as well to understand from the beginning, but we're essentially just comparing these. So if one of them gets a like, the other one gets a minus like, essentially. If one of them has more likes than the other one, then the one with more likes gets +1 relative likes, and the other one gets -1. So here we have stock 2 likes. So stock 0 data, the stock 1 then, relative likes, minus stock 2 likes, and vice versa here. So stock data 1.rel likes equals stock data 1.rel likes minus stock 1 likes. And then you go for a rest.send stock data. And we have access to these because we created an object here. I think that this should actually be inside, right? Maybe. Or not. Let's see. No. Yeah, and then we have to close the client. So client.close. move that up there. We have that one there. We have a one of those, and here is where we have the. Let's see. This is funny. Maybe we're missing a parenthesis somewhere. We want to be at. Let's see. With if else. If. Here, else if there. There you go. Here is where we want to be. Yeah. And here we go for an else collection dot find one, not update, find one stock, where we go for JSON dot parse outer body dot symbol, and here we go for error and document, and if we have the error, we console error that. So, and if we don't, then we say that let stock one likes be equal to document dot likes, and stock data be equal to stock is JSON dot parse outer body dot symbol, and price is JSON dot parse outer body dot latest price, and relative likes is stock one likes. So, and we'll have a collection. We can actually copy that. We'll do the exact same thing with the other one. So like that, and we'll just replace this then. So inner body, we'll still have the error check and stuff. We'll have stock 2 likes here, and we'll have the, this is going to be an inner body, and we have stock 2 likes. And we obviously don't differentiate between the likes here because it's the same like. But anyway, so outside of this, we'll rest.send stock data there and client.close. And with that, I should be able to npm stock this, hopefully. If we for some reason haven't made an error anywhere, which I doubt. That's right. So if I want to get go here, I should be able to get price there. I cannot, right? Request is not a function. That sounds bad. All right, we're back. I had to stop recording and actually figure this out, and it seems like the request library no longer works. It's deprecated, but it's doing some other stuff as well. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna remove that and use Axios instead. So we'll simply go for an npm uninstall request, because we don't want that anymore. And we're going to replace that with npm install Axios, which is another library that does pretty much the same thing. Bit more well used, but it does the same thing. We have to use it in a slightly different way though. That's the big difference. So instead of request here, we just write axios.get. That's not right. And it should be Axios and not Axiom. And here as well. So Axios.get here is a promise though, so we can't have this comma here. This actually ends there. And then we can go for a .then here instead. And here we can have response. And response essentially this just continues what we had before, so we can actually do this. So we have that, and then we'll go to not change the code too much. We still want to have this body, so we can have a constant body that essentially takes response.data, which is something we get from the endpoint from the API. We don't need that. We're not going to be able to actually play it on here, but this JSON.parse that we did before, we're not going to be able to do that with XCL, so we need to remove that. And instead, we can actually just do body. Because body now is response.data, and the data is either the object we were looking for before or a string. But we have this parse in several different places, so we'll need to find those. So JSON.parse, let's search for that, and then we'll just grab all of these and remove them, and we should be able to do that as well then. So I think, oh, that's not good. Huh. All right, let's just do that one, I guess. And then we have a lot of these. We don't want those, so we need to remove those. Just clean up the code a bit. And then we have a lot more. I'm going to clean those up. But we have this one. And when using a promise like this, we don't actually want this error call in here. But we're only going to use access in 2 places. So we just have to change this in 2 places. So we'll go to the bottom of this, which should be like, let's clean this up first, so let's see what I'm doing. There we have one. We have one here. That seems to be it, right? Where are we? We're there. Okay. So here, where this one ends, we'll write a catch. So we'll just catch error here, and we can remove the if statement. So if we move here, we're gonna have an error, and here we can just print that error. That should be enough for the first one. Okay, and then we have the next one as well, right? We still have these, so we need to remove that. We have more errors there and there. And again, we're just doing this because we can't use this request library. So we're gonna have to replace this one as well. And when we do that, we'll probably use request in 2 places here, right? When we do that, we will get rid of the rest of the errors. And then we can actually try if this works, which is good. There we have one. It's a bit tedious to have to do this because this request library worked when I did this myself, but apparently it doesn't anymore, and I kind of want this to work, so we're just changing this. So this request, again, we're changing this to get request from access, and instead of that comma, we just finishing that, and then we're removing that line, writing .then, and here we'll have a response. And here we can have a const outer body, which is what we're working with, which is gonna be response. We can actually do this even better. Let's write outer response here, so you know which one is which. So outer response dot data, and if we go down a bit, we should have another request, I think. Maybe. Oh, no, if we go out, we do. So this one should be inner and not outer. All right, inner, and inner. But this one should be access or get. We're replacing that. We're replacing this line with .done response and const outer body equals, right, we need to do that, outer response, outer response dot data. So that should do it, hopefully. So let's actually try that. Let's go for an npm start, like so. And then we go here. Let's reboot that. Let's try to write go, like so. Yeah. And then we can see that we're actually getting the price this time. That's good. And we're getting a price of $1,472 as opposed to the example here, which is like half of it. 0 likes. We could, however, like that. And oh. Interesting. Not sure what's going on there. And it shouldn't have 9 likes, I think. That's weird. Anyway, if I write something like Guga here instead, that's not a valid stock. So let's see what's happening. Oh, okay. Getting an error. Ooh, let's see what we're actually having here. Yeah. Let's try just doing that. Yeah, there we go. That's weird. So this is the response we want to have there. And if we try both then, we can try the examples we have. So Goog and MSFT. I might have to restart it again. I'm not sure why I have to do that. I haven't actually looked into it. That one does not seem to work. All right, we forgot to do that. So in this one, actually close that down for now. We need to move these. So let's grab that. Let's go down to here. Good. Dot catch outer error, and then we console that error, log that error, and then we need to do the same thing here. We need to move this and add a catch to that. So inner error, remove that. So let's see what we get this error here then. Google, Microsoft, no error. Okay. Well, this should not happen. So right now it's only getting one of them. Let's have a look. That means that we're exiting too soon. We may be able to do it like this with Axios. Have a look. All right. I had to close down the video and research this properly. I kind of had to redo pretty much everything I had done in order to fix this because of the deprecated library. But we're back. We're gonna fix this, and we're at this part where we're gonna pass in two stocks. And how are we gonna do that? Well, we're gonna use Axios, like we did with the one stock there. And to do that with Axios, we have to do a sort of a double promise. And we've already started that before I realized that it didn't work properly. So I'm actually going to rewrite this code because I think it's less confusing than if I just fix stuff where it doesn't work. I think that's sort of confusing to look at if you don't know what's going on. So I think it's more reasonable to rewrite it completely. So what we have is we still have this variable called stock data, which is an empty array, and we have these requested stock one, which is rec.query.stock, and the first part of that, and then we have a similar one, which is the second part of that array, which is requested stock 2. And then we'll make this Axios call. So Axios.all, which is essentially promise.all. And in here we'll have an Axios.get, and we'll get this one. So repeated alpaca thing. I think we have it up here, don't we? Yeah, this string. Instead of me writing it out. So, and this is obviously not going to be requested stock here. It's going to be requested stock 1, and we're also going to have a second one here since we're requesting 2 stocks, and this one's simply requested stock 2. This is, as I said, a promise at all, so we'll continue that. So .done. And here we'll just go for an Axio.spread, and here we can use an outer response and inner response. These variable names are completely arbitrary. You can name these whatever you want. You can name this blah and foo, or foo and bar, and it doesn't matter. You can name them whatever you want, whatever is easy to work with. Because what these are is essentially this one is the response from this, and this one will be the response from this. So I'm just using the names I had before to make it a bit easier for me to transcribe, or whatever it's called. In here, I'll just create a couple of new variables, because both of these will return an object which has a lot more stuff than we want to have. So this one is just going to be outerResponse.data, and we'll also have an inner body, which is going to be innerResponse.data. And if type of inner body is a string, then we'll just rest.send. Sorry. Requested stock. We can actually do it. I wrote it the other way here. I don't know why. Let's do this. Request stock 1 is not a real stock and or is not in the database. So, and then we'll have just the same pretty much. So we'll go for an else if, and here we can have inner body and requested stock 2. So, and the reason we do this is obviously because this object that we're looking for is not going to be an object if it already exists. or if it doesn't exist, I mean. So if this is not a real stock, then we're gonna have this sort of string response that says something like this stock doesn't exist or whatever. And if we get that, then that's obviously a string and not an object, and therefore we just check for if it's a string instead of checking for the actual string. Then, if we don't get an error either of these, then we can just proceed. So we'll go for an else. And here we just go for this Mongo client.connect. And we'll connect to a process.env.db. And we'll use a new URL parser, true. And we'll use a use unified topology, true. So, and here we just check for an error and client, like so. And if we have an error, then we console error. So. And if we don't have that, then we just go for the collection is equal to client.db of stock price checker dot collection stocks, which is the one we're looking at. And then we'll just go for collection dot count document. And in here we'll look for stock, which is the same as the outer body dot symbol. So this data object will have a symbol in it, which is essentially Apple or Microsoft or Google or whatever we're looking for. And then we'll go .then, since this is a promise, so outer result. And again, this is just to keep track of where I am. It doesn't really matter if it's in or outer result or whatever. And here I'll go for let likes is 0. This is kind of ugly code, and some of the code I'm writing here is going to be a bit ugly because I'm sort of band-aiding this because it did work and then some stuff got deprecated and didn't work, so I just fixed stuff. But if outer result is 0, then we'll let new stock1 be equal to an object where we have stock is outer body dot symbol. We'll have likes is 0, and client IP is an empty array. And the reason we just do it like this straight up is because we'll check if we have like this later on anyway, so there's no point in actually putting likes 1 here or putting some sort of ternary or something, because then we'll just get double likes for no reason. And here we just go for collection.insert 1, new stock1. And after the if statement, we'll go for stock data.push an object here. We have stock, which is out the body of, well, this one, essentially, like so. But let's see, no, that's not right. We'll have the same stock, obviously, but the rest won't be the same. So we have a price, which is out of body dot latest price, and we'll have likes. And likes will be 0 here, for now at least. That's the outer result. After this one, so here, we'll go for, we can actually close this properly, like so. And here we go for a collection of count documents, and we'll essentially do the same thing again. So I'm just gonna go ahead and copy paste this stuff and replace that, and that. So with anybody, and this one is going to be new stock 2 instead. So, and we probably want to do this as well. Inner result. So, and new stock 2. So what we're doing here is just checking the second stock. So we're doing the exact same thing, but without the stock. after these two, we'll have another collection of count documents, but this is where we're actually doing stuff properly. So in these, if the stock already exists, then we're not really doing anything. We're pushing this. That's pretty much all we're doing. If it doesn't exist, we actually add stock. But if it does exist, then we're just pushing this to the object that we're going to return later on. But in here, we're actually going to check for if we have likes on either of them. So in here, we'll have an object, obviously. This is the Mongo object. And here we'll check for an or and here we'll have an array where we have an object, which is stock outer body dot symbol. So we're looking at the first stock then, and we'll also check for likes, and we'll check if likes is greater than 0, and we'll also check if client IP exists. Oh, it's gonna exist obviously, but it may be an empty array. But we're gonna look for the rec.ip, and this is something we get from the request body. So we have an IP there, and if that exists in the client IP, then well, then we can't like again. So here we have an or and we have an array. So we obviously don't want just one object in that array. We want to do the exact same thing, pretty much like so. But instead of outer body, we go for inner body and check if that's liked already. Let's see, where are my there we go. So here we will continue that promise. So here I'm just going to check the IP result, i.e. if either of these return 1, then it means that it's already liked and we can't like it. So if IP result is not equal to 0 and record query dot like, because it doesn't actually matter if either of these are liked if this one is not true. So here we go for rest.send, and we'll just say you're not allowed to like the same stock twice. Sorry. And otherwise, we're actually going to have to do that as well. Client.close. So else if rec.query.like, i.e. if the IP result is 0, but this one is still true, that means that we've liked both stocks, and that's valid. We can do that. Then we'll go for let stock 1 likes and let stock 2 likes. I would probably not have done it like this if I did it from the beginning, but as I said, I'm sort of making a sort of band-aid solution here. So it's going to be a bit of ugly code. So here we'll go for collection.find1 and update. And we'll update the stock at outbody.symbol. And here we'll just do inc likes +1, and we'll do push client IP rec.ip, and we'll do this for both of the stocks. So this obviously only works if we haven't liked either of them before. So if we do like both, then we have to update the likes on both of them. And here then, after this object, we have another object which says return original false, because we don't want the original object. And then we'll go for an error and document. And if we have an error, then we console error that error. And if we don't, then we set stock1 likes to document.value.likes. So document is the whole thing that it finds here. We're not interested in that. The value of it is pretty much all of this stuff, and we want the likes from that. How many likes that stock has. And like before, we're actually gonna copy this, copy paste it, because we're gonna do the exact same thing with the inner body symbol. And this one is gonna be stock 2 likes instead. So in here then, we're also gonna do with an object here. So stock data is an object we have that we're working with. Or an array actually, it's not an object. In here we have 2 objects. So we'll have a stock, which is outer body dot symbol. We'll have a price, which is outer body dot latest price, and we'll have relative likes, which is going to be stock 1 likes minus stock 2 likes. And then we're just going to copy this one, because we want 2 objects here, and this one is going to be inner body instead. And this one is obviously going to be stock 2 likes minus stock 1 likes. So, and this is the object we're gonna, or the array, the variable that we're gonna pass back. So here we just go rest.send.data, and we go for client.close. And then we covered 2 cases essentially. So we've covered what happens if you have, if the IP address already exists in on one of the stocks and you liked, then you don't allow to do that. We've also covered what happens if the IP address does not exist and you like. So what we need to do as well is, if the IP address does not exist, but you also don't like the stocks, you're just looking at them. So we'll have the same ones that we had up here, these ones. That one's top 1 likes and top 2 likes, because we're still gonna need to do that comparison even if we don't like them ourselves. And here we go for collection.find1, and we'll find so we find the stock, and it's outer body dot symbol, and we're gonna look at error and document human. So, and if we have an error, then we just console error that error people. And if we don't have an error, then we can go for stock 1 likes is equal to document.likes. And then we'll do the same thing here. So we're actually doing a somewhat simple thing here. We're just checking for the likes. So stock 2 likes here is going to be whatever it is here. So we're making 2 simple checks in the database for whatever the likes are. And we can do that because we're not really doing anything else here. Then this is an ugly solution, and this is just because, well, this takes time. It doesn't take a lot of time, but we are actually accessing a database and looking at stuff, and that should sort of be made asynchronously, but I would have to rewrite quite a lot of code to make that work. It would make for a lot cleaner code, would be a better solution, but to make it work anyway, I'm just using a set timeout in this. And inside this set timeout, I'm going to make it timeout for a second. So basically, we're going to allow for these to take a second before we do the stuff in here. And here we just go for stock data is an array. We can actually go ahead and get these ones. and copy paste those. So we have the exact same stuff here, really. After this object, or this array, we'll just go for rest.send stock data and client.close, like so. So what's missing? Not a lot, really. We're really only missing tests at this point, but we're actually gonna have to do one more thing here, and that's after this then that we have. So far down here, we're just gonna go ahead and write .catch outer error. We can't actually go error even, because there is no inner error. So console error. So with that, we should be able to do this. So we can go from npm start, and we can go here, do this a bit, and then we can go for Google and the MSFT, and we should get both here, hopefully. This may be a bit slow, at least if you do it once in a while. And the reason why this is slow is because we're going through another glitch server. So essentially Access is making a request towards a glitch server, and since that's sleeping most of the time, it has to wake up before we can get the stocks through that glitch server. So this can take several seconds if you do it once, but if you do it another time, it's really fast. So if I do like both here, not allowed to do that. But this actually works. Point. And we get the relative likes, and I'm just gonna note this here. Relative likes is, just to explain that properly, it's not how many likes the stock has, it's how many likes the stock has in comparison to the other stock. So if both have one like, then the relative likes will be 0.